In my walk of practicing Abraham, or the thoughts and beliefs put forth by Abraham, one thing that I'm recognizing more and more is that I've heard you refer to the tree roots, the roots that run deep, the things that we are not cognizant of, that something may trigger a vibration, etc. There are two areas in my life where I am wanting to change the habits and the beliefs, and that is in the area of finances and in the area of health. Both of these are areas in which the habits, let me start again. When I am not vibrating where I'm wanting to, I'm recognizing how to reach for the thought that feels better, going and doing something that allows me to be more expansive and vibrate and raise my vibration. I feel that I'm pretty competent at that, although it's a process. But what I don't recognize is why I still have things that impact my health, why I still have things that impact my financial picture, when I'm knowing that if I want to raise my vibration, I can do that.
Well, in your question is your answer, because when you say, why are there things that are impacting my health? Why is this still going wrong?
Yes.
Even in that question, even in that acknowledgement that things are not as you want them to be, you're locked off your signal. In other words, it is the awareness of what is that keeps coming up. It's that little bit of poison consistently through your day. And that's why we're having fun with this egg on the face thing,
right,
because we want you to catch yourself right in the middle of it. Sometimes we'll see Esther, we've just been playing this game with them for about a month, as we're saying, because the big question, it came ringing from the group one day, well, if I'm asking and if the universe is answering, then why in the hell isn't it happening for me?
Yeah.
Why is it not happening for me? And we said, because you do that thing you do. And when you begin to catch yourself in the act of doing that thing you do that locks you off your signal, then you'll be free. And so we set a whole group of people off into the world all at once saying, pay attention to that thing you do. And so Esther began catching herself. The first day, hundreds of times she caught herself focusing upon this thing that she did not want. And a time or two she would say to Jerry, I'm doing it now, aren't I? And Jerry would nod and softly agree. And then Esther would say, but just let me say this one more thing, and then I'll stop. Just because she'd practiced it in her mind, it was a kind of clever thing. It was something that it had gathered some momentum. It seemed wrong to get a thought that progressed and then not lay it on someone, you see. So just let me say this one thing, and then I'll stop, you see. And Jerry would smile at her as if to say, it won't be the end of it, but go ahead. And sure enough, in other words, as you verbalize it, certainly it isn't the end of it. And so the key is to begin catching yourself in the middle of those things and then having fun by saying, I'm doing it now. This is the reason. This is the answer. This is why it's not happening for me in the way I want it to. This reason right here, right now. This thing I'm doing right now. That's the reason. Okay. So ramble a little bit and let's see if we can catch you in the act.
Well, I'm probably going to give you many opportunities.
There was one.
Thank you. How may I raise my awareness where I can be more cognizant of when I'm doing it?
By looking for it. In other words, that's why we're amplifying it in this way. Okay. This is the reason we're saying there's three things. You ask, universe yields. If it's not happening, you're doing that thing. Start watching for that thing you're doing that's keeping you from being locked on. Negative emotion is always present. Negative emotion is always present. If negative emotion is present, you're doing that thing. If you ever have negative emotion, little or big, you're doing that thing. You're doing that thing that's keeping you locked off your signal. You are not in the receiving mode. What you want can't come while you do that thing. So it's negative emotion is always present. So, but the thing we want you to begin doing here is being playful about it. In other words, because before, Esther and others were saying, I'm doing that thing. I'm doing that thing. I'm not getting it. I'm still doing it. And then they just kept doing it. In other words, catching yourself in the middle of negative emotion and then condemning yourself for being in the middle of negative emotion. And so we want you to be playful about it. We want you to be joyful that you have guidance that is showing you. It's that thing, it's that thing, it's that thing, it's that thing. It's that memory, it's that story you've been telling, it's that way you've been approaching this, it's that television program you watch. You can get hooked on television programs, and the reason you're drawn to them is because they're playing your issues. That's why you like them. They feel familiar to you, you see. So you watch them. Have you ever felt pretty good, turn on a television program, and when it's over, you're mad at your mate? Something on that show reminded me of something you used to do. So ramble a little bit about what you want, or about anything.
Well, I'm wanting more freedom to make, well, what all of us are wanting, I think, the freedom to make the choices that make us feel better about ourselves. And
talk to us about dollars.
Dollars. I spend too many. I love it.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
I love it.
Now, what about this? I spend too many. Was that, locked off or on?
That was off.
You tried to cover, but we weren't buying it.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
I spend too many, and I love it.
Yeah.
And so
I want to
you were
make as
doing
many as I spend.
Well, now here's the thing that we're wanting you to realize. We could sit here for an hour or two together.
Go back and forth.
And we can show you locked off, locked on, locked off, locked on. And in that process, you catch on to us and you'll start saying the right words. But we won't accomplish much in this short period of time. It'll take you a week or a month or so to catch yourself in the middle of the statement and then to reach by stepping back into a more general place for something that locks you on. In other words, when you said, I spend too many, we think that that is undoubtedly a fact of your now experience. I'm spending more than is coming in, and I've got myself out of balance, and I'm a responsible person, and this does not feel good to me. And I'm frustrated because I can't figure out how to do more to get more. I can't figure out how to easily spend less. In other words, I'm sort of stuck in this place, and I'm not happy where I am. Now, there are maybe thousands of statements or acknowledgments that you make in any one day that compound all of those feelings, that just keep amplifying that. So at first, reaching for feelings or thoughts around that subject that lock you on are going to feel a little false to you at first, but if you step into more general place, they don't feel so false. In other words, you can say something like, well, I'm good at many things, which is a locking on statement. And I have been in worse places before and brought myself into better places. And I know that I am making progress relative to deliberate creation. And I am aware of the way I feel. My guidance system is working within me. And I'm excited about this I'm doing it now game that Abraham is giving me, because I can catch myself in the act of locking off. Now, all of that was more general, not specific to your subject, but it was all locked on statements around the subject. So you are in a better place than you were before. And now, just with that little bit of effort, next time you say, I'm spending too much money, you'll stop in the middle of that statement and you'll laugh and you'll say, I'm doing it now. And then play with it. Well, what's too much money? Is too much money spending more than my mother would spend? Or is too much money spending more than I've got to spend? What's too much money? Well, too much money is more than is comfortable for me to spend. Oh, I'm spending too much because I'm spending more than I'm comfortable in spending. Well, I know what to do about that. I can bring myself into balance and spend more what's comfortable. You see what we're getting at? It's not it's really not about the spending of the money. It's about what you're doing in your mind about how you're thinking about the spending of the money. If you feel like you don't have enough money, even though you're asking for more and the universe is lining up all kinds of ways to yield more to you, if you feel like you don't have enough money, you can't let enough money in. You've got to change that feeling place. And that's why we were saying you have to begin to love you where you are. If you say, I'm spending too much money, I should be more responsible. I've heard that all my life. I'm too greedy, or I'm too selfish, or I'm too... laying more on you than
Well, and I'm
you're-
a banker, so working with people and their money is just a constant, it's a very emotional issue
There's
for
more
many.
judgment within you about
Yes,
that, isn't it?
yes.
Because it's easy to see them as out of balance or irresponsible. So what you're wanting to do, and we talked about this earlier, you're wanting to come to this place where you are no longer condemning where you are relative to money. In other words, you've got to be in the receiving mode. Now think about it. We're going to see if we can amplify this in a way that will be really clear to you. Point one, you're asking. So you're banging around, you're saying, universe, more money, please. And the universe is saying, anything you say. How about through this avenue? How about through this one? How about through this one? How about through this one? The universe is yielding abundance to you. Money abundance to you. And you're standing in this sort of shriveled up place of inappropriateness because you spend too much money. So you're saying, more money please, I spend too much. More money please, I spend too much. More money please, I spend too much. So the money that's flowing to you is just sort of bouncing off you and around you and not coming to you. And what we want to demonstrate is a relaxing and receiving. Now, you can't receive this money that you're asking for while you're mad at yourself for not having enough money. You have to get over being mad at yourself. You have to say things like, I'm doing all right. I'm doing the best that I can do under the current circumstances. I'm getting better and better at it. The money is flowing. In other words, it's this, in the same way that if someone gives you a compliment and you sort of we watched Jerry and Elsie, Lovable Cat. Jerry will say, oh, you are such a beautiful beast. And Elsie says, I know. She knows she is magnificent, and she knows that he knows it. And she loves that he knows it, and she receives the compliment fully. She not once says, oh, if I'd known you were coming, I wouldn't have rolled in the dirt. Excuse me. She just bees who she is, and she will take all that he will flow to her as he adores her, you see. And we want you to be more like Elsie. We want you to open and receive all of this well-being that you've been asking for, that you deserve, that the universe is yielding to you. You just have to soften. You have to break that shell that you've picked up, that I should be doing better, I should have done better, that self-judgment, condemnation that you've picked up from others. In other words, is that serving you? It never has. It's time to just let it go. So when someone offers to open the door, thanks. When someone compliments you, oh, thank you. And you'll have to practice it at first. And so then, in answer to your question, you will be more sensitive to the way you're feeling. You'll catch yourself not in the receiving mode. And when you do, stop and laugh about it. Oh yeah, here's one. Here's one I've practiced. You have these sayings that you've picked up. Esther's father said for years that he and Esther's mother together made one really good person. And what he meant was body part wise. In other words, if they shook them down and threw out the broken parts, that together they'd almost be a really good person. And he said it for years and years and years, kidding about it, sort of, but meaning it, sort of. And now as Esther thinks back, she realizes that through much of those comments, he was not in the receiving mode. In other words, he was in the mode, it was a moment when he was feeling a little stiff, or it was in a moment when he was feeling a little discomfort. It was in a moment when his desire for a better feeling body was being amplified, and in that moment, he made his funny remark, which was a statement of how it is, which made it impossible for his desire to be satisfied in that moment. And we think there are all kinds of things that you all say and do in your effort to be funny, mostly in your effort to justify or explain where you are. And at the heart of almost every bit of that is this belief. We don't know where you got it. You pick it up from each other. You practice it. It is an erroneous, inaccurate belief, but it goes like this. I have to pay a price for my success. So there is struggle involved in success. And every bit of struggle is not the receiving mode. Every bit of it.